Oklahoma City Thunder are the most dangerous team in the NBA right now, and they're going to be the most dangerous team for the next 3 to 5 years. I was very high on them before the season. I thought that they were a team that's capable of winning 50 games. They have a superstar in SGA. They have a really good supporting cast around him right now that's capable of making a playoff push, making a deep playoff run, and they have potential to win a championship in the near future. As of right now, OKC is currently the 2nd seed and are on pace to win 50 games this season. And the thing that sets this team apart from a lot of other young teams in the NBA and even teams that ended up developing into championship level rosters, what sets them apart is the fact that they organically built this roster from the ground up. Remember, in 2019, they traded Paul George, they traded Russell Westbrook for a bunch of assets, right? They get back a bunch of picks, they get back players who aren't really proven but had potential in them. And they mostly did that by just giving guys opportunities. Like SGA, he had a ton of opportunity during that 2020 season with Chris Paul, and then the years after where he was essentially the #1 option. He's had a slow progression into superstardom, and the Thunder ended up leveraging those bad seasons that they had with SGA into top picks, which ended up further building their core. And the second thing that makes the Thunder so dangerous is that this is not even the best that they're gonna get. Their core is extremely young. SGA has only been in the league for 5 years. J-Dub has only been in the league for a year or maybe 2 years. If I'm not mistaken, this is J-Dub's 2nd year actually. And then this is Chet's rookie year. Even though he missed his 1st year technically because he was injured, he's basically a rookie and he is playing extremely well for a rookie standards. And then you have really good supporting pieces like Isaiah Joe, Lou Dort, and Cason Wallace, who I will be talking about extensively later on in the video. But you just have guys around SGA, J-Dub, and Chet who know their role, who can play really good defense, and who can help the team win. And currently this season, OKC is 5th in points per game, 7th in offensive rating, 8th in pace, and 4th in net rating. Now, I will say the perimeter defense does need to get better. SGA, he's not like the craziest defender, but he has the physical tools to be a good defender. It's just like the simple mental processing that being a good defender requires. He just doesn't have that yet. J-Dub is a really good defender. He knows how to play passing lanes, and he possesses a ton of defensive IQ. And then obviously Chet, he's a phenomenal defensive player. But overall, I would describe this OKC team as a phenomenal offensive team with a ton of potential on that end of the floor, and then kind of like a middle of the pack defense. To me, SGA, he's the perfect combo guard you want to build around. He's currently averaging nearly 31 points per game, close to 6 rebounds and 6 assists with 2.7 steals a game on good enough efficiency. The 3-point efficiency is kind of concerning just because he is a perimeter player, but he's so effective in that mid-range area to where him not being that great of a 3-point shooter this season isn't really hurting the team significantly. And besides that, he only shoots 3 threes a game, and most of his shots are unassisted, which means he's just pure ISO wing most of the time. J-Dub is the perfect wing you want to put next to SGA just because he's the type of player where he's always on attack mode. He's a very good finisher inside, but what makes him so effective is just his aggressiveness. He's relentless around the rim. He's good at recognizing lanes to where he can cut to the basket, and oftentimes SGA finds him on a cut, or even if Chet has the ball on the perimeter, he finds J-Dub on a cut to the basket. He's also very active on the fast break. He gets a really high flying dunks, and he's even a threat on the offensive rebound side just in terms of putbacks and things like that. A very capable 3-point shooter. He can put up 20 on any given night, and he's very active defensively. And offensively, he doesn't really try and do too much. Usually he knows how to play his role within an offense, and if he's having a game where he's really hot, then he will end up taking over at times, but usually he doesn't try and overstep his role. Chet, on the other hand, is having one of the greatest rookie of the year seasons I've seen in a while. He's having a phenomenal defensive season, which puts him up there in my opinion with some of the greatest rookie defensive seasons in NBA history. 3rd in blocks per game behind Brook Lopez and Wemby. And the way he plays defense is a lot of helping and rotating. Because of his frame, he's very quick to recover on certain plays, and more often than not, his blocks end up starting the fast break for the Thunder, which is a big reason why the Thunder are top 10 in pace right now. Chet is currently averaging 2.7 blocks per game, which I don't think has been done by a rookie in the modern era. And he's averaging nearly 4 blocks per game in his last 10. So when it comes to rim protection, he is definitely already one of the best in the league. And a lot of that has to do with his frame. I mean, coming into the NBA, a lot of people thought he was going to get pushed around because he has kind of a skinny frame, similar to Wembanyama. But the thing is with Chet, he uses his long arms to his advantage. Usually when small guards try and attack the basket or they try and get an opportunity at the rim, they put the ball high as possible so that it's unreachable to the average center. But the thing is, Chet is not the average center. With his vertical and with his wingspan, he can pretty much block any shot on the court, similar to Wembanyama. And like I said, the fact that he is third in blocks per game as a rookie behind Brook Lopez and Wembanyama, it says a lot about his defensive ability. And offensively, Chet has been really good. As he's averaging 17 and 8 pretty much on 52, 37, 87 splits, which are actually really good for a player who hasn't played a whole lot of NBA basketball. You could chalk that up to, him being out for a year and him training to get back and things like that. And you could chalk it up to his role on this team. You could chalk it up to a lot of things, but however you slice it, that type of efficiency and that type of production for a rookie is very impressive. And offensively, Chet is very, very good. He's shown a lot of potential on that side of the ball. He's not like the scariest threat on this team, but he's enough of a threat to where you have to pay attention to him defensively. He's a very good shooter. He's got a nice touch around the rim, and the thing in my opinion that makes him the most dangerous is the fact that he can take bigs off the dribble. He has a very nice spin move that he utilizes a lot, and he's also very quick with his moves. Like, Chet doesn't need to take a whole lot of steps in order to get into his move, or he doesn't have to be in like perfect position. Usually he can just catch it around the free throw line, dribble, spin move, and he can get a layup easy. The only question with Chet's offense to me is, where is his offensive peak gonna lie? Because if OKC is going to prioritize him offensively and make him more of a threat, then they're gonna have to just simply put the ball in his hands and just let him go to work. And as far as the Rookie of the Year race right now, I would put Chet as a front runner there. I think he's probably gonna win it at the end of the season, just because the Spurs are actively sabotaging Victor Wembanyama, and the impact that Chet is currently having for this OKC team, just in terms of what he can do on the floor and how he's helping them win games, I think that's going to be a lot more valuable than what Wemby is bringing to the table right now. And I think Chet Holmgren has potential to be the best big in the league at his absolute peak. I especially think he's a future defensive player of the year. He actually has the potential to win it multiple times on some Rudy Gobert stuff. And I think that the impact that he can have for this Thunder team defensively would be on a similar level to what Anthony Davis does for the Lakers right now. Just being the defensive anchor, being a really good help defender, and hopefully the Thunder use him as a roamer defensively, similar to how the Bucks use Giannis, similar to how the Lakers use AD. But outside of J-Dub and Chet, SGA is surrounded with really great three-point shooting. Isaiah Joe is nearly a 43% shooter on nearly 6 attempts per game. Lou Dort is a 40% shooter on nearly 4 attempts. Chet is a great shooter, like I mentioned before, and the rookie Cason Wallace, 52% from 3 on not the greatest amount of volume. And I'll say Cason Wallace, in my opinion, he's the guy that should be starting next to SGA instead of Josh Giddey. Obviously, Josh Giddey is not the most favorable player right now because of outside stuff that's going on off the court, but from an on-court perspective, Cason Wallace, he's a phenomenal three-point shooter, really good defender, and he fits better next to SGA than Josh Giddey does. Josh Giddey is not a great three-point shooter. He's a decent playmaker, and he can create shots for others, but offensively, he's not much of a threat. Like, defenses aren't going to be reacting too much to Giddey just because of his offensive limitations. If you're having SGA dominate the ball and he kicks it out to Josh Giddey for 3, there's not really a great chance that Giddey's going to make a shot. I'm much more confident with Cason Wallace taking a shot off of a kick out from SGA than Josh Giddey. And it also just spaces the floor out more for SGA, which is something that OKC really needs to address. OKC is 21st in three-point attempts, but they're second in percentage. I don't know if that means that they're just not that great of a three-point shooting team if they take more threes, or if this is something that OKC is really good at, but they're just not utilizing enough. And then Lou Dort is somebody who I've always been high on. He's another really good wing to put next to SGA. He's a great three-point shooter. He's a great defender. He can create his own shot at times, but really offensively, you're not asking him to do too much. Now, as far as OKC's potential and what I think they will end up being, I think they have a really good core. SGA is already a superstar. J-Dub is a perfect complementary wing to put next to SGA, and Chet is one of the best centers in the league already. They have good role players around their core: Cason Wallace, Isaiah Joe, Lou Dort. To me, what I would do to take this roster to the next level is make a huge move, make a run after a star level player, and that, to me, that star level player is Lauri Markkanen. This is a trade that's already been speculated speculated at, has been hinted at. The Jazz recently made Lauri Markkanen available for trade, and OKC has the assets to do it. And Lauri Markkanen would be a perfect fit in this OKC team just because he's a tall, lengthy 3 who can play more than just a 3. He can play next to Chet at the 4. He can shoot the 3. He can score at will, and he's also a really good off-the-ball player. I can't imagine how defenses are going to game plan for Lauri Markkanen and Chet next to each other. The ideal trade package to me, it would be Lauri Markkanen going to OKC for Josh Giddey, Trey Mann, Davis Bertans, the 2024 Rockets pick that's top 4 protected, the 2026 Rockets pick that's also top 4 protected, a 2027 Clippers pick, which is a pick swap, and throw in a second round pick in there just for good measure. To me, if OKC does this trade, it takes them from a team that is likely to make a deep playoff run to a team that's almost guaranteed to make it to at least the Western Conference Finals. Like, they're in the same tier as the Denver Nuggets, the Lakers, and the Minnesota Timberwolves, teams that should be in the conversation for like Western Conference Finals locks. And Lauri Markkanen isn't the only star player that I thought about OKC trading for. I also thought about OKC getting in the Donovan Mitchell sweepstakes as well, just because I was just thinking about, you know, how great of a fit it would be to have SGA, a 30-point per game scorer, and Donovan Mitchell, another 30-point per game scorer, on the same roster. And it's a very ambitious trade. Like, it's a very ambitious thing to go after, but in hindsight, Donovan Mitchell on the OKC Thunder wouldn't be as great, just because ideally you would want somebody who's a better perimeter defender. And also, I don't think OKC would do a trade with the Cavs for Donovan Mitchell, just because they would probably have to give up J-Dub in that deal, and I think OKC is very high on J-Dub, so I don't think they would ever give him up. And realistically speaking, I don't think Cleveland would want Josh Giddey anyway. To me, if OKC were to make any big trades, I think Josh Giddey is like the #1 person that they're looking at, and like they're for sure gonna shop him. Not even just the controversy, but it's just like Giddey hasn't really played that great this season either. But yeah, man, the Oklahoma City Thunder are the most dangerous team in the NBA for the next 3 to 5 years. They have a laundry list worth of draft picks that they can trade for other star players. They've organically developed one of the best young cores in the NBA, and they're currently in a position to make it a deep playoff run in the Western Conference.